Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
It was very emotional. So, yeah. You know, he gave a hug to one of the students, and yeah, it was just emotional.
The driver of the school bus that was struck by a train near Lidgerwood, North Dakota yesterday is resigning. The school superintendent says 69-year-old Michael Scraw turned in a resignation letter today. 18 students were on board the bus at the time of the crash with the Dakota-Missouri Valley Western Railroad train. 4 were injured. One of those was a 15-year-old girl who was flown by helicopter to a Fargo hospital. Valley News Team's Joshua Pagaro has more from a community that's still reeling emotionally.
Before classes began, students and teachers crowded the auditorium at Lidgerwood Public School for a prayer.
We believe in the power of prayer, where we're praying for them. We want them to make sure their children are okay. So maybe, you know, a couple days after an accident, all of a sudden maybe you've got blurred vision, or maybe you have a headache, or maybe there's just something that doesn't feel right.
They were praying for the 18 kids on board a school bus that was hit as it was crossing the tracks. Superintendent Mark Weston couldn't hold back his tears Friday.
We'll get through it. A lot of emotion.
He remembers the school bus driver who troopers identified as 69-year-old Michael Scraw hugging a student Friday morning.
I'm sorry too, yeah. It was an emotional hug, so vivid to me. Thank you.
The crash also took an emotional toll on others in the community. Vicki Healy had 5 grandkids on the bus.
A couple of them seen the train coming and tried to brace themselves, and it's tough, but it will be okay.
She says although some were not injured, they had a hard time falling asleep.
I'm happy that there was no life-threatening injuries, and just thankful today. It hits the community really hard.
Highway Patrol says once the train struck the bus, it caused the bus to rotate and fall on its passenger side, creating chaos inside that bus. The youngest person on board was a 6-year-old girl who was not injured. The accident could have turned out worse for the kids returning home from school, which many say was a blessing from above on this Christmas holiday. In Lidgerwood, Joshua Pagaro, Valley News Live.
There's still no word on whether any charges will be filed against the bus driver. A North Dakota man is dead after his vehicle overturned in Walsh County. The 35-year-old man from Piesig died at the scene, and authorities say he was not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash. It happened mid-morning, more than 2 miles south of Park River. The driver was in a 2004 Cadillac Escalade when the SUV left the roadway, entered a ditch, and drove into a field. The man's name is being withheld until relatives are notified. Some residents of a downtown Fargo apartment building will have to find temporary housing. How long is uncertain. Their apartments sustained water damage when the sprinkler system put out a mattress fire shortly after 1 this afternoon. The building's well known. It's the 400 block of Broadway North. No injuries were reported. We'll have more information on this story tonight on Valley News Live 10 at 10. Whether it's holiday travel or last-minute Christmas shopping, the weather outside is delightful for this time of year. Let's go to Hutch with details on your Friday night no-wait weather planner. Hutch?
Mike, we've had some soupy conditions across the valley as we've enjoyed temperatures near 20 throughout much of the day. Visibilities are under 3 miles for many locations, but it's really reduced in Langdon and in the Cooperstown area throughout the day. Take a look at this time lapse here as we look off to the east, and in the early afternoon, whoop, those clouds formed, really getting low to the ground, kind of showing you that cloud production process there. As we headed through our afternoon, we've seen a little bit of clearing out to the west, but for us here in the Red River Valley and points east, still some low clouds and fog lingering. Temperatures near 20 from the Red River and points east. How about 12 in Devil's Lake as things are starting to clear there and in Jamestown. Look at the near 40-degree weather to our west. Good things to come this weekend, but for tonight, more of the same. Cloudy skies, a south wind at 5 to 15 miles per hour, and steady to slowly rising temperatures as we go through the overnight hours. Mike, what does that mean for you? It means you need to watch out because we do have some areas where we're getting some drizzle. It's causing roads to remain slippery, sidewalks too. I'll have details on some warm-up for the weekend here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, and despite all that, it's going to be really nice outside.
Indeed.
All right, thanks. It's Friday, so it's time to take a look at this week's Valley's Most Wanted. 37-year-old Elvira Grant is wanted for failure to appear on a drug possession charge. Call police if you have any information on her whereabouts. A $5,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest of the person or persons responsible for stabbing a dog multiple times and leaving it to die. Leech Lake Tribal Police say it happened on December 6th near Cass Lake when someone reported a dog bleeding from multiple wounds. Once authorities arrived, they followed a trail of blood to the wounded dog lying on the ground. The dog died before it could get medical help. Anyone with information is urged to call the phone number there on your screen, 218-335-8277. Check out this video. It's of a woman being dragged by a car while being robbed. The 52-year-old was walking to her car in a St. Paul, Minnesota parking lot Sunday when a man came up behind her and took her purse. The robber then threw the purse into the car and he takes off. The woman's arm was stuck to the strap of the purse, trapping her in the door of the getaway car. She was dragged for over 200 feet and was not seriously hurt.
Victims who have fought back, they've been struck with fists, they've been threatened with guns. And then you saw this terrible case that could have had a much more tragic ending.
St. Paul Police released the surveillance video as part of its ongoing investigation. 2 University of Minnesota wrestlers will not face any criminal sexual assault charges stemming from an incident in June. A woman accused the wrestlers of criminal sexual conduct. Both were arrested, then released from jail. The attorney says intoxication and the victim's ability to give consent played a large role in the case. The 2 wrestlers are still suspended from the Minnesota wrestling team. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says Democrats and Republicans are at an impasse over how an impeachment trial should run in the Senate. Skylar Henry has details from Capitol Hill.
White House lawyers visited the Senate Friday to tour what will eventually serve as the courtroom for an impeachment trial.
The leader and his team assemble everybody so we have a chance to meet and see, like I say, where the locations are, where we'll be doing our work.
But when the trial begins remains to be seen. Senate leaders Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer can't agree on how it should proceed.
I told Leader McConnell that we would not support any trial without witnesses and documents.
Democrats want to hear from key witnesses, such as acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who did not testify before the House.
Calling the Chief of Staff the National Security Advisor, I think, is just way out of bounds here.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she's going to hold off on sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate until parameters for a Senate trial are laid out.
When we see the process that is set forth in the Senate, then we'll know the number of managers that we may have to go forward.
House Democrats may be too afraid to even transmit their shoddy work product to the Senate.
First daughter and senior advisor to the president, Ivanka Trump, tells Face the Nation this process has focused the president and his base.
He's energized, as are 63 million plus voters who elected him to office.
But evangelical Christians who overwhelmingly support the president are waking up to an editorial in Christianity Today magazine calling for the president's removal from office, saying none of the president's positives can balance the moral and political danger we face under a leader of such grossly immoral character.
President Trump fired back on Twitter, calling Christianity Today a far-left magazine, and claimed he has done more for evangelical Christians than any other president. If you wake up early on Sunday, catch Full Court Press with Greta Van Susteren. This week, Full Court Press features interviews with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and Congressman Jeff Fortenberry. They will discuss impeachment, bipartisanship in Washington, D.C., and the insulin bill. Full Court Press airs Sunday at 6:30 a.m. only on KVLY. Minnesota's DNR wants you to be alerted of disturbing rise in the number of snowmobile deaths. So far this winter, 3 riders have died and there have been more close calls. Last winter, 10 riders died in snowmobile accidents. The winter before, 5, and the year before that, 3 died. The DNR says you should always stay on marked trails, never drink and ride, always watch your speed, and be careful on ice. The Bison football team takes on Montana State, the Bobcats, tomorrow afternoon. That game starts at 1 live from the Fargo Dome, and you can watch it on ESPN2. And the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show starts at noon on KVLY. And at 10:30 Sunday morning, you can catch the Coaches Show with Matt Entz on KX4.